up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice and Dragons, we are going to be doing the top 10 games that we reviewed in 2021. Well, not just the games, some of the expansions as well. So we ended the year...
I don't want to be nitpicky, but they're games too, even if they're expansions.
Oh, you are being a little bit nitpicky, but that's true. They are still games. You just need a little bit more than what's in the box in order to play them. So we closed out 2021 with the worst games that we reviewed. So we're opening 2022 with a lot of positivity, and we want to start it off on the right foot. So these are definitely some games that you should check out. We had a lot of fun with them. The way this is going to work is we will be presenting you in the next section of the video our games going 10 all the way up to number 6. Then we'll have a second section that will take you from 5 all the way up to our number 1 game that we reviewed in 2021. Now, some of these games did get the same score, so we had a little bit of discussion. It is actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be in order to set up the ranking as to where they would fall on our list. Then also down below in the video description, you can find a link to the aggregate scores that we used in order to create this list. So when we do a video, if you're new to the channel, I give a score, and Julie, you?
I give a score as well.
Yes. So to create this list, I've taken the average of those two scores, and the best of the best have risen to the top. Now, is there anything that you want to add at all, Julie? I kind of stole the show on this one.
Yeah, there's not much I can add there.
Not much you can add? Well, there's tons that you can add. It's just going to be in the next segment. I just get to be your host right now, and she is my lovely and the most important assistant that I have.
Oh, assistant? Yeah, okay.
See, that's when we're in the armor, guys. You make comments like that, might end up not having a great 2022 after all. And on that note, we are going to grab our drink, grab our best friend.
And we can't really say we're taking it to the table. We're going to take it to the reviews.
Take it to the reviews? Nah, bring it to the list. That sounds better.
Okay, bring it to the list.
And we're back with the first game on our list. This is Kids on Bikes. Well, it is a Kids on Bikes board game. This is the Snallygaster Situation. Now, if you would like to find out more information about any of the games, well, down below in the video description, you'll find links to all of the reviews that we did for those games. You'll also be able to find out all of the information on said games, because when you click a link to the review, we've got all of that in their video descriptions. We're just going to be introing the games for this list. Maybe I'll mention the publishers. Sometimes that's easier to remember than the designers as well. Some of them I remember, some of them I don't. It's tricky. We play a lot of games.
Yeah, we'll try to keep this review, though, in a somewhat digestible
this list.
time. Yes.
Yes.
So, yeah, we don't need to repeat everything that we have in the videos. But we start with number 10. So
Yes.
This is the 10th best game of 2021, and I don't think we're going to say every single time that we reviewed, but let's remember that these are the games that we played and reviewed in 2021.
Yes, just a reminder for those of you that have skipped over the intro because you wanted to get to the meaty part of the video. So now that we recapped all that, let's move on to talking about the Snallygaster Situation. So Julie, why is this number 10 on our list? Why did it get so high up in our games that we played this year?
Well, anything that pretends to be Stranger Things is already going to have
Kids on Bikes was around before Stranger Things, just so you know. But it has that vibe. It's that 80s Kids on Bikes vibe, which Stranger Thing emulates to a T.
Okay. So it's a cooperative game, which really falls in I was going to say there's going to be quite a few competitive games, but typically we really like our cooperative games. So that probably helped us out as well. It's that 80s theme. Like I said, it's like Stranger Things. It's got a little bit of creep factor, which, is fun too. It was just a lot of fun to play.
And this has a very interesting mechanic where it's almost like a one versus many. Not really, but you've got the character that is the lost kid that is really sort of directing things like that player that would be against you, but what they're trying to do is direct you to find them, to get them on the board to help you defeat the monster. And you need to find the lost kid in order to defeat the monster, which I thought was just really very cool. And for those of you that were wondering why the big smirk when Julie was talking about cooperative and competitive games, there's actually a lot more competitive games on this list than I would have originally thought before we were putting it together.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna, preface this by saying that, or not preface, but basically defend my situation by saying that Jason threw a lot of competitive games at us on the table this year. So that might be why there are a few more competitive games.
Hey, but they made the top of the list. So as you can see, our tastes as a channel are broadening and we're having a lot of fun.
We are. So I mean, I don't know what else I can add. This is a nice, colorful game. It was a lot of fun. It surprised me, actually. I wasn't sure that I would enjoy it as much as I did, but I did.
Yeah, the color scheme works very well. I love the art. It really feels like your kids, right, like dealing with the situation. The art really, something like a 10-year-old would draw. And this may have gone higher on the list, but I think the complexity factor, which can be a big boon for some players and potentially hinder families, because this is definitely right at the upper end of that family level of game, could be, it's be great for some families, a negative for others. And we played a game that this reminded us of. There's a newer version of it. You may be able to figure it out if you've been following the channel, that just placed a little bit higher up than this one, and it'll be making its appearance shortly. But this is a great game. And just so you know, just about every game on this list got like almost an 8 from us. And we're at the bottom. So everything here is like 7.75 or higher. So there you have it. We talked about the Snallygaster situation, kids on bikes. So I'm going to put this down. I'm going to do my best Vanna White impression as I bring on our next game. And I'm going to do my best to keep everything centered. I know there's some people out there that love having everything perfect, but when you're doing Vanna White behind the camera, it is not that easy. So we have our number 9. This is Dune Imperium. And if you're wondering why we have some games that were released in 2020, for those of you that don't know, we are Canadian. So some of those games that show up overseas in Europe, you get them faster than us. In the US, you get them faster than us. And a lot of this stuff came in late 2020. So we just got it to the table in 2021. But we do have the nice upgraded box for it. So you can tell we do enjoy it. So Dune Imperium, our first competitive game on this list. Maybe some of you thought this might have been higher, but it did well. Not the best. I think I might have been the one that actually brought down the score a little bit. I'm not quite sure.
I can't remember. It'd be interesting. We can take a look at, we're going to cheat and look at the score. Yeah, so I gave this an 8 and Jason gave it a 7.5. And I didn't, and I said this in the review, I didn't know Dune when we played it. I'd heard of it, but I didn't know the story, hadn't seen any of the movies. So the IP really didn't say anything for me, didn't factor.
IP fan, big fan. I would have a shirt with a giant sandworm on it right now if I could.
So, I mean, to me, I think what hindered Dune is that we played a bunch of other games right before it that I enjoyed a lot more, that just were a lot more fun. And as we were playing them, I'd say I'd rather be playing X. And I don't want to say it right now because they're going to be higher on the list, so I don't want to spoil the surprise. But I think had I not played the other games, this one might have had a little bit of a higher score. I think I would have enjoyed it more. Do you remember what you didn't like about this game?
So what I didn't like about this game, and people that have watched the channel will know that there's a game that this is often to compare it to. Spoiler alert, it's higher up on the list. What I didn't like about this game is the fact that, well, it's listed as a deck building game. You can get punished in Dune for building your deck. There's a set amount of rounds, so by the time you're purchasing some of the most expensive cards in the game, the chances of you cycling it through your deck are very low. And that's really what hindered my score, which made it a little bit lower than I probably would have liked it to be. The intrigue cards are very powerful. There's a lot of really cool mechanics, and I absolutely have a blast with this game, and we're going to get it back to the table. I'm eagerly awaiting Rise of Ix, because I want a good excuse to get it back to the table when we're doing a review. But that deck building element not being as strong as the worker placement just bothered me. And I also felt that some of the powers weren't necessarily balanced. I don't think that Paul Atreides necessarily has a great power. However, I played Baron Harkonnen, and I had a blast playing the Baron, whose powers were just awesome. Maybe it just suits my playstyle more than anything else. I know you had a miserable time playing against me as the Baron because you just watched me run away with the game as I manipulated the board in my favor. So everything is thematic, but strength-wise, I felt that balance was definitely a little off, and I don't like a deck builder where it's harder to trash cards and really build that slim, efficient deck, and I found that that's a little bit more challenging with Dune, and cards like Kwisatz Haderach, when you can finally buy it at 8, are very difficult to play more than potentially 1 or 2 times if you're lucky.
Yeah, for a novice Dune, I was going to say, somebody who doesn't really know Dune, I guess would have been an easier way to say it. It did seem fairly thematic and appropriate, though. It did seem like the game...
Oh, you've seen the movie now.
Yeah, well, and I think it does bring to life the world. So for that, I think we have to give it props. I mean, these are the 10 best games, so it is definitely up there, and it was fun. It's just not higher on the list because there's a couple of things that, like you said, just we didn't like it much.
I want to stress this. Julie doesn't love direct conflict games. The way that Dune implements direct conflict in the game and forcing everyone to be a part of it, giving you different ways to earn victory points, even potentially using entry cards to lose and gain victory points, had you fully engaged with the combat. Like, you had no problems with that aspect of the game because it's so well done and everyone is involved in it. And I just really want to stress that is a fantastic element because there are people that don't like to be attacked, and Dune really wraps all that up in the mechanics so you don't feel like this person is attacking you. It's like, this is how I'm going to get victory points. I have to do it, and the game facilitates me to make my move when I feel like it. So I really like that aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Great game. Highly recommend it. It's number 9 on our list. Now, as we move up to number 8, and this one actually kind of fluctuated, but you're going to see we're using this box because I kind of I did aggregate a few scores to get it to where it is. So this is Zombicide 2nd Edition. And we're talking about 2nd Edition with the Washington, D.C. expansion is what gets it up to that level where it beats Dune Imperium. 2nd Edition by itself was just a little bit lower. There's a great travel edition that we played as well. But with this expansion, the game is just elevated. And I was pleasantly surprised by Julie's reaction because when I told her I was getting Zombicide Modern, she's like, I like Zombicide games, but I don't like the modern setting. And she enjoyed 2nd Edition because of the new rules, but this one really put it over the top for you.
I had lots of fun. I playing the presidents.
Yes, they're not in this box, but it's an expansion pack you really want to play with. Washington, D.C. It's very thematic.
I played Barack Obama. He was quite the badass. Sorry for my language. And then you've got Ronald Reagan with his ray gun.
Yeah.
I mean, that still sticks out for me. It was a lot of fun. There was a couple different presidents that were and that's honestly for me what made it a lot of fun.
But also, you loved the campaign mode elements. Yeah. And that was the other big thing, because the presidents is its own expansion that came when you got this during the Kickstarter. But the campaign mode and the way the fact that you can take that campaign mode, those all-out cards, throw them into your regular Zombicide game, follow the rules for the campaign that's in this box, and adapt it to your regular Zombicide 2nd Edition game, you basically turn what was a standalone mission game that you have into a 20-mission campaign.
And those Secret Service weapons were really cool.
Yes. Now, the Secret Service deck, you could probably figure out a way to squeeze it into the original game. Not quite sure how you can do it, but it works incredibly well in Washington, D.C. There's just so many elements in this game that take Zombicide to a whole new level. I could not believe the fact that, like, with the all-out deck, you want to play a campaign mode with the base game? Just throw these in. Oh, by the way, here are the rules to gain XP in all of your regular missions. So we love our campaign games. I don't know if I'll ever play all 20 missions of Zombicide as an epic campaign, but it's nice to know that we can do it. It really makes this modern game a staple in our collection, one that's not going to go anywhere. And we just have tons of content for it. Now, we don't have all the miniatures for all of the 1st edition because we just don't have that. But we've got all the cards to play as those characters. So, I mean, subbing and proxying minis, no big deal. So, 2nd edition, I think we just had a very nice surprise because you were a huge skeptic.
I was.
She looked at me and was like, we have Invader. I like sci-fi. I like fantasy.
Green Horde.
Yes. Black Lake, Green Orange. She's like, what are you doing with Modern? And lo and behold, Washington, D.C. made this probably the best Zombicide game that we have.
Yeah, probably.
In terms of gameplay, but in terms of just one-off fun,
No.
don't think it's the best for one-off fun.
No.
All right, so we've talked enough about Zombicide 2nd Edition. You should definitely check it out, especially the Travel Edition if you're looking for a fun game on the go. All right, so we'll put this down. And we have the first expansion making our list, and we haven't quite completed it yet, but this had to make our list. We managed to get it in 2021. I know most people in North America don't have it. We had to import it all the way from England. That's how big of a fan of this game we are, because we wanted to play it over the holidays. Didn't get to play it enough as we thought we would. Well, I wouldn't say enough. We were busy. We had great holidays. Just wanted to play a little bit more Lord of the Rings.
Jason would have played it until we finished it. He would have, and we have done that before we had the little man. But it's a little harder now to have those long marathon sessions of campaign games. These are a lot of fun. I mean, it is. We go on a fair bit, I think, when we do the review. I would say I really love that it's bringing more of Lord of the Ring content. We're a little bit more in the land of man in this, and there's some.
We are in the land of man. It's Gondor, Rohan versus Umbar, the Easterlings. We're in the land of man.
Yes, but then you also have the war elephant, and things
the
like
Oliphant.
Yes. So I mean, it's been a lot of fun. I like the characters that we have. They seem to allow us to upgrade a fair bit. A little bit.
Classes are cool. I will give you that. I think this expansion. Sorry, keep going there. I don't want to steal your thunder.
It's okay. Go ahead. You're gone. You're gone.
I'm not gone. I was bringing it back. Go.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say I really did enjoy the fact that we were able to upgrade our characters fairly quickly. One of the cards that I had with Dwalin allows us to gain lore, which means
she's a lore keeper.
Which means that we've been gaining a little bit more lore a little bit more quickly, and then getting a little bit more XP and upgrading our gear. So it's been a lot of fun. I would say that I was a little bit surprised when we looked at the scoring for this, and it ended up just at number 7. And I think that's just more that we already love this game so much that we have very high expectations for the game. So that's why it ends up where it is. Honestly, this game this expansion, but the game in general is our most played game of all.
I think Champions might have actually beat it now. Okay. But this is definitely up there with over 70 plays. So just so you know, this is our favorite game. Now, we do expect a lot from this game, and I'm absolutely loving this campaign. I'm not fully in love with all the content from this expansion. And speaking to what Julie was mentioning, I think we have some of the most fun and entertaining classes that we've ever had. I'm playing Renarian as Trickster, and holy cow, Renarian as Trickster is just as good as anyone else that we've played. I'm also playing as Beorn, the Bjorning, and I'm a little disappointed in Beorn. And you're really enjoying Dwalin, but you're playing as Freya, the Shield Maiden, and you're not loving her so much as well. And while I think that the Bjorning class is cool, it focuses on single target damage when you turn to the Great Bear, which really is not the greatest, or hasn't been so far in our plays of the game. Boromir has... We neither of us have played him, but doesn't have a great character power. And that's really what I think kept this from making it into that top 5, is that when you look at the ensemble of characters, after playing Renarian as Trickster, like, she's just as good as anyone else that we've ever played, but comparing Beorn, Freyhild, Boromir, and then one of the hobbits, one of the Took hobbits, I think Calamin's Took, I can't believe I actually pulled that from the ether here. They just don't compare to the characters that we already have in the game, like Arwen and Gandalf and Aragorn and Legolas. Like, I would say that I've got 2 characters that I love that would play in the older campaigns, but I'm not so sure I would take the characters from this into the older campaigns. That being said, Spreading War is amazing, and it really feels like an adventure game now. We have whole scenarios where it's not combat based. They really have put the adventure aspect and the journey into Journeys in Middle-earth. Whereas before you were exploring, but combat was a big part, this is the first campaign where they've really minimized the combat and focused a lot more on story and exploration, which I think is really cool.
I think we've said enough about it.
I think so too. We can go on and on and on about this game. So we're going to stop and we're going to get to number 6, the last before our quick break here. And here it is. I'll make sure I got this the right way. It is Horrified American Monsters. Now you're wondering what beat out Snallygaster's situation? Well, Snallygaster reminds us a lot of Horrified, and we have the new Horrified American Monsters. Heck, American Monsters for Julie beat out the original Horrified, and she kept telling me that she didn't love the original game.
This one was fun because it reminded me a lot of the X-Files monsters. So all of the Monster of the Weeks, basically, they were all in this game. So it's the same things that we loved about Horrified, but with monsters. That were a little bit more up my alley. I think there was a little bit improved as well in the gameplay. I just felt it flowed a little bit better.
Yeah, the monsters I would say, are definitely a little bit more complex in terms of what they do, but the flow is a little bit better. Some of the monsters in the original Horrified could be a little challenging just to progress, like Frankenstein and the Bride, the Frankenstein monster in particular. So the flow for this game is improved. Also, you've got improved art across the board. So character art, board art, card art, everything about this feels like it was done at a higher level than the original Horrified. Now, don't get me wrong, I still love the original. We have both in our collection. I have no intention of getting rid of either one of them. They both have their own flavor. I think that the original is going to be saved more for when we're trying to do, like, maybe a Halloween game night or something that's more spooky themed. Whereas this one, because of the presentation and the art and the accessibility, is just going to come out a little bit more often. Unfortunately, I think this game could have even gone higher on the list, but the biggest letdown are the investigators themselves, because they are identical to the investigators in the original Horrified, which then begs the question, why is this not an expansion? Well, the reason why it's not an expansion is because we need a whole new board. But it goes to show you that perhaps they'd be better off just creating the Horrified game system than putting out these individual boxes. Now, they probably sell more content with the individual boxes, so, makes sense there. Also, the miniatures. The miniatures were a lot nicer in this than in the original Horrified. So the production value just really upped this one on the chart for us. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add? See, we talked a lot more about some of the lower games. We have less to say about this one, but it's Horrified, it's great, and you should definitely pick it up, especially if you're looking for a fun family game. So
another one of the cooperative games that we have on our list.
Another one of the cooperative games we have on the list. So it's mostly cooperative games. I think we got some of the competitive ones that are going to be showing up as we get higher. And now, before we go to the next section, I just want to throw out one honorable mention that I wanted to say. It almost made the list. I had the score that was good enough to make the list, but we haven't played the game enough to really get it on there, which is Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, Secrets and Soirees. It got such a high score from us because the expansion actually fixes all the issues we had with the 2-player game. So if you do play Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, primarily at low player counts, that expansion is an absolute must for the game. I just want to throw it out there because it almost made the cut. And if you check our list down there, you might be like, hey, where is it? Well, I mentioned it. Maybe it popped up on the screen here. I haven't quite looked if it would work. So there you have it. We've done the first part of this video, so we're going to grab a sip of our drinks because I've been just going.
Uh-huh.
And we'll be back with the rest of the list. And we are back with number 5. Now, this is Descent: Journeys in the Dark, 2nd edition. Now, you may be wondering what the heck this is doing on our list for a list of games that we reviewed in 2021. Well, we have been reviewing games online for 3 years. We have talked about this game in many, many videos. It's made our top 10 list, but we've never actually done a review. So we decided to start up the Naricol campaign because Legends of the Dark was coming out, and we really wanted to be able to compare and contrast the 2 games for our review. So there you have it. That's why it's here. We played it in 2021, and we did our review of it in 2021. It's games we reviewed, not games that were released in 2021.
And now we've said it again, and we will not say it again.
No, we don't need to say it again.
So, as Jason said, this is a game that I've often compared other games to. It is my gateway game, I guess we would say, in the sense that it's our game. It's our game.
We started with Imperial Assault, we were playing with friends, and then there was this with the app, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting this one. And then I got all of this one. And now we're doing this. So there you go.
Well, that's the abridged version. Yeah, so I really enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed the dungeon crawl. I like everything about it. It has its flaws, but it's just so much fun to play. And I have a soft spot in my heart for it.
Agreed. I really enjoy this game. Now, as Julie mentioned, there is some flaws with the game. It's primarily tactics and combat. It's a dungeon crawl in every sense of the word. You're going into the dungeon, you're killing stuff, you're accomplishing your objective, and you're leveling up. That is the game. If you don't want to do that, don't do it. Now, the app does give you some storyline around everything, but the story isn't the best, especially compared to other story experiences like Journeys in Middle-earth or even Folklore the Affliction. Story-wise, they're just a lot deeper games. That being said, very few games have this game's excellent combat and balance and awesome just damage and loot system. I mean, you love playing the Widow Tara. You love leveling up and just blowing away enemies.
Yeah, and then it's always disappointed when we're done. We're like, oh, but that's it? No, we don't get to keep you attacking things. And the one thing I would say is I've compared a lot of other games' combat system to this one, and this is one of my favorite. I really think the combat is very well done in this game.
Yeah, if you are a fan of dungeon crawls, this is one of the best out there. There's tons of content for this game. It is now out of print, so I do recommend trying to track it down if you're interested. Unfortunately, an all-in collection, as this was put out over many years, is quite pricey. So I wish you luck, but this is number 5, and don't worry, you will not be seeing this on a list of games we reviewed again. But you may see older games, just not on this one. So let's put this aside for now. We'll have to get back and finish that Nericol campaign. We had something come out that kicked it off the table. So I've got a placeholder box here. I'm going to see about doing some editing to make the box show up for the actual thing that we're talking about, and that is Marvel Champions' latest big box expansion that we have, the Mad Titan Shadow. I can't get it to pop up here. It will have popped up somewhere on the screen, so you'll see what the art for the box looks like. And why did Mad Titan Shadow make the list?
Great villains.
Yes.
We needed some good villains. Our champions, our heroes, our superheroes had gotten really strong, and it was making it a little bit easy to kill the existing monsters. So this just made it was just some more content that made it a little bit more challenging, and that's, I think, one of the things. It just keeps upgrading this game and taking it to the next level, and we really enjoy this game. As Jason alluded, it is probably our most played game now over Lord of the Rings. We just keep bringing it to the table, and this was one of the other ways. This was one of the ways that we got some new content, some fresh content that was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, the campaign expansions really have kept this getting to the table. That's probably what pushed it a little bit higher than Lord of the Rings, because with those 3 campaign boxes, we have about 20 plays, plus about 20 plays just from the base box of, well, actually more than 20 plays, of trying out all the different heroes and combinations. So you add that together, plus all the expansions that keep coming out that we play, it's just really hit that most played game mark for us. And as Julie mentioned, there's a lot of good heroes. There was also Galaxy's Most Wanted this year, one that we did not review all that favorably, and that's largely because of the pre-constructed decks for Rocket and Groot. You can definitely make them a lot better fairly easily. Just that this box is so well-rounded, has a lot of great challenging content, and a lot of the content that you really just want to see in the game if you're a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. I mean, this is Thanos, this is the Black Order, this is the end of the Infinity Saga. Well, of those villains, being introduced into the game in a really fun and cool way. It also really wrapped up the Guardians of the Galaxy cycle, so it's just fun to have the Guardians to have them face off against Thanos as well. So everything about this I found just worked really well, and it scored very highly. I think it is the best campaign box that they put out yet. Now, please, Fantasy Flight Games, just stop changing the way the boxes work. Each one is different.
Okay. So on that note, we're down to number 3.
Number 3, and this was a very pleasant surprise for us. And this was one that I wasn't sure you were going to be super interested in. But we're back to the competitive games as we get Red Rising. And I got to say, we weren't originally going to be getting a copy of this. I probably would have picked something up. Big thanks once again to Jamie Stegmeyer for thinking of us and sending it this way. And it was a little bit more complicated, but something happened. There was a snafu, and we managed to get this advanced copy, and he thought of us. So that's why I'm telling the story. If you want to check out the review, we talk about it more in detail there. So, Red Rising. What did you like about this game? And neither of us knew the IP beforehand. I have been listening to the audiobooks now. So, thanks for that as well.
I was just really surprised with the way the game plays, despite the fact that it's a competitive game. It's just a lot of fun with the different I guess you'd call them classes.
Well, characters. They're really characters, but there's the characters and the classes, because there's the golds, the whites, the grays. So you're entirely right. It is a pyramid structure, class-based system.
It's not that confrontational. It's just a lot of fun. You can do your own thing and play your own game and still end up on top. And the different strategies to play the game can be just as successful or rewarding. So, if I remember correctly, I won a bunch of these games before you finally.
You did beat me on quite a few of the games. Like, you definitely have the winning record when it came to this game. I'd be looking at everything, I'm like, I think I got her, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, there was like one slip up that I made, or I couldn't quite get that right card, and then I'm like, uh-oh. And you ran away with it at that point. So, like, there's a few times she just knocked me out of contention. And I was like, I could have done that a little bit better, probably.
So I think what I'd say is if somebody is a cooperative game lover and, like me, self-proclaimed cooperative game lover, I don't tend to like competitive games, but this is definitely one that I did enjoy. And we played a fair bit, and it's funny, I'm sitting here thinking, I think it's been about a year, almost a year since we got this to the table. If we had a little bit more time, it'd be nice to be able to take it to the table again and play it.
I think this is one that we got to definitely make a focus to play it again early on in the year. We could even take a look back on it. But I think the main reason why it hasn't hit the table in a year is because we really wanted to play this game at a higher player count. And that opportunity just never came up for us. Unfortunately, with everything that went on in 2021, we really thought it would. And the funny thing is, this is one of our highest scored games. And your biggest complaint was the way that it played at 2 players. Meaning, if we'd gotten to play like 4, 5, or 6 players and that was resolved, this may have been our number 1 game of 2021. May have.
Knowing what else is on it, I'd say probably not, but...
Hey, it all depends on when you would have reviewed it, because you might have asked me, if we'd played this with 6 players before we reviewed the number 1 game, it might have actually had the higher score. Or tied for it. Maybe it would have gone up to number 2. But loved everything about it. Also the fact that you've got the retail edition, which is very, very economically priced, and you can then upgrade the components afterwards for the same ones in the collector's edition. It's really cool, and we have the retail edition here, but we also have the collector's edition components. So just across the board, this is a really fun game. If you played anything like Fantasy Realms and you also love the Red Rising IP, I really think you should check it out. The way the card play works and just the strategies and the fact that there are so many different ways to win is a lot of fun.
If I remember correctly, it's also a very pretty game.
Yes.
Lots of colors.
Lots of colors. Like, the table presence is fantastic. Also, the back of the board is beautiful. Just some great art from the series. Well, it's created for the board game that really belong in the series. So we are now going on to our number 2.
This was a huge surprise for me, honestly. A lot of people had been talking about it. I just had a lot of fun. And
with Lost Ruins of Arnak. I had to say the game.
Yes. Again, it's another competitive game. I managed to win, I think, the first 3 games before Jason finally, excuse me, got a hold of the plane. And then I was like, this isn't fun. Because he just cycled through his deck and kept going back. And again, this is another one of the games that we would have liked to play at higher player counts as well.
Yes. I love Lost Ruins of Karnak. This is so much fun. Every game that we played was typically very close. Julie won more games than I did, not by much. I focus a lot.
You had to add that. I won them. This doesn't matter.
Not by much. I mean, we're both very competitive in this game. Yes. But I mean, we're both into this game, and our strategies worked very well. I focused a lot more on the slim deck, which didn't always work in my favor. When I got the plane, though, it worked incredibly well in my favor because being able to play that card and play through my deck every hand was just awesome. And that's why this beat out Dune Imperium. The deck building elements in this is really, really strong. And if you can build a very small, powerful deck that you will draw in your entire turn, you will do lots of crazy, fun, extraordinary things in this
game.
The
other thing now that I'm remembering that I also liked about this game is it's a quick game. It plays in under an hour.
About an hour, I think. We did get it under an hour. We have gone a little bit over with some games. I think that was like the earlier ones, but it is on the faster side.
Yeah. It's a pretty game. We love Indiana Jones in this house. And this
little guy heard the music and he was going ba-da.
One of the first things he reacted to actually in the womb. So that's kind of interesting too. In any case, this game is pretty. It's nice. It's fun to play. And we had a lot of fun with this game. And I would definitely recommend it. If you haven't played it or haven't tried it, you definitely should pick it up.
This is another one that has not gotten back to the table because we've been waiting, like Dune Imperium, for that expansion to come out to have the perfect excuse. I was thinking excuse and expedition leaders because that is the expansion. I had them both run right into each other in my brain. So it's already out in Europe. It came out in the summer, and I was really hoping it would hit Canada before the end of 2020. I thought it'd be one of the last things we played in 2021, but unfortunately it's not out here yet. So it'll be coming out shortly, and then we'll get this game back to the table. But I can safely say this game's probably never leaving our collection.
I don't think so.
No. So one of the best games we've played, and definitely one of our favorite competitive games. And I was surprised at how much Julie liked this. I really thought she was going to enjoy it, but...
We may stop the game where it is if he gets the plane again, but that's okay.
Hey, I built an excellent deck. There was a lot of things that went in my favor for me to get the plane. I mean, that essentially have 5 cards guaranteeing that I'm going to play a card and draw a card, and I have 6 cards or 7. I was always playing the plane. The chances were really high. I made a great deck that time.
That time, yes. And now,
our number one, and it should be obvious to anyone that's been following the channel, or if you could just figure out where we're going, it is Descent Legends of the Dark. Now, this one has got quite a bit of hate from some people. They don't like the app. We told you our story a little bit at the first segment of this. We started out playing app-based games. And while there is definitely some concern about using the apps in the future on mobile devices, I just want to say this is on Steam. Steam is not going to be going anywhere because it's Valve and it's incredibly popular as a platform. So I'm a lot less concerned about apps expiring when they are available through the Steam platform. We just have to play on a laptop in the future. But why did this get to the top of the list, Julie? What does this do better than the original Descent Journeys in the Dark 2nd edition? Well, not the original, the original for us.
I just feel like it cleaned up some things. Like combat was, I already liked combat in the other one. I felt this one was fun as well. I thought the story was a little bit better as well.
Oh, the story is light years better. The story is way better, and I think that is one of the things that really put this above bar for us, because I'd say that we love Folklore the Affliction. Definitely one of our favorite games. It's been a while since we played it, but the story in that was excellent, and this takes that to that level as well.
Well, to the point where you are also reading the lore, the books about this world, right?
Yes, well, I've always been a fan of the lore for Terranoth. People say Terranoth is rather bland. I've dove into it. I don't think Terranoth is all that bland. There's some pretty cool stuff going on. They've started developing books around the characters from the Journeys in the Dark games and now the Legends of the Dark games, so it's pretty cool. I've been reading those books, and there's a lot of nice, cool through lines that actually flow through everything. You can even get some lore that is actually short stories for the characters that you get in the game. So there's 6 short stories. They're about 2 to 3 pages long, nice and easy to read. And they all tie directly into the game, which I thought was pretty cool. And we can't be remiss. The miniatures and the table presence is just so good. Now, color-wise, it's bland. Not going to lie. It's grays, browns, dark greens. But the 3D terrain is awesome, and the detail in the miniature is great. And surprisingly enough, I thought I would hate the art, and I just wouldn't grow on me. The art's growing on me. I don't mind it anymore. Mm-hmm. Now, I prefer the old art, but I'm indifferent on the new art. I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's great.
Yeah, but you're right. The minis and the 3D terrain were just a lot of fun, and they added a new, I'm going to say it, dimension to the game.
Yes. And the app, as you alluded to as well, is just a lot better. It really automates combat, and you're getting, I'd say, as close as you can get to the, we have a game system over that way. The game system RPG on the tabletop because of the things that the app does, calculating things that go off at 10, 5% chances, stuff you'd have to be rolling dice for, and the app just does so much bookkeeping that you can even upgrade your weapons and do a lot of different stuff. So I thought it's pretty cool, especially because you're no longer really leveling up your character. Well, you do a little bit in this, but a lot of it's through customizing and modifying your equipment and getting gear. And the XP is really more about just customizing a few skills, unlike it was in Journeys in the Dark, where those skills were just a lot more powerful. So there's just some different balances that this one really brings into play, and we had a lot of fun with this. I know some people really didn't like it. Some people judge it without playing it. Some people just hate the games with apps. And for us, we like app-based games, and we had a ton of fun with this. And
we had high expectations, given how much we love the second edition. We really were hoping that this was going to be better, and it for me, it didn't disappoint.
Yeah, it didn't disappoint. I think a lot of people hated on this to hate on it, and I'm going to talk about one of my favorite podcasts. I know, like the Secret Cabal Gaming podcast. Like, they really didn't think they were going to like it, and then they all played it, and they loved it, and they had a blast playing it. Now, the one thing I will say that is a negative, and why this maybe would have even gotten a perfect score from us, the mission length. These are 2 to 3 hour missions, and with a little guy, it's been very hard for us to finish this game, and it's not finished yet. Once we finish Lord of the Rings, I think we're going to get this one back to the table, because we're going to go through some smaller box stuff just so we can play through this game and get through it. I mean, this is only Act 1, so we've got more coming. It's actually been confirmed that the other stuff is coming in 2022. So I wonder if this will be back on the list again.
I don't know, but it is definitely not surprising for anybody who follows the channel that this is number 1 from our reviewed games last year.
Yeah, they just did a fantastic job with an app-based game. It's everything I could have wanted. So, Descent Legends of the Dark, yeah.
So there you have it. And on that note, we're going to remind you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have new content for you.
And take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see pictures of Julie and I playing any of these games, there are plenty on all those feeds. Tons and tons of Legends of the Dark. Since it's not finished, there'll be more. Same thing with Journeys in Middle-earth. Also down there is a link to multizone.ca, a great Canadian game store. Click that link, you'll get 10% off your next purchase, and it's a great way to support the channels. A portion of that purchase is returned to us. Also popping up in front of us are going to be links to some of our previously released videos. In front of me will be our most recent release, and in front of Julie, you saw the good. You can now see the bad. It'll take you back to our worst reviewed games of, least wanted / worst reviewed games of 2021. I'm least wanted because some of them left the collection. Ciao. Bye.
So on that note, we're going to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend. And remind you to keep playing games.